access the auditor because they're the Board of Ed's auditors. That's what he said.
Okay, so that was what we said. So why don't we wrap this up? I think we have a decision on C.
Yeah.
C
I'll tell you, I can come in with a cure for cancer that costs $1 if you oppose it.
That's not true. Bring me a cure for cancer that costs
In any
me
case,
$1.
staying on the agenda, subject matter at hand, Mr. Municipal Auditor, I think we can move on to the next item.
Shared service agreement, curb.
Huh? Discussion.
Yes, that's the,
Are we done with Gordon? Gordon, no, I think we're done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
the next,
Yeah, no.
next item up for discussion was a request to enter into, actually to accomplish this, the curbing on Valley Road between Bellevue and Lorraine Road, to have that curbing replaced. Right now, the county is doing paving on that road. The curbing during that section of the road is not part of the paving job. Councilman Murnick wanted to bring this for discussion to request if the township itself could actually pay for the curbing in that area. Discussion. See what the council.
Well, this was just an item I noticed through the business owners and through certain residents, that the area between Bellevue and Lorraine, there's quite a bit of steel. You've been up there and you saw it too, Mark. If we're not going to replace the curbs, and again, that's up to you guys, Victor, you can have a brand new road there that I think it'd be a shame if we didn't at least remove the steel and make it safer, because the steel that's sticking out, we go and we cut every couple of, a couple of months or so or something like that. It'd be a shame to have a brand new road between Bellevue and Lorraine. It's a small stretch of street, and that steel has been sticking out for years. At least go in and take the steel out before they pave this whole thing.
Has Kim taken a look at this?
She's taking a look. Joe D was out. I thought Joe D was going to do it when he came out and we negotiated Presby with him. And I walked around up there and he said, "Oh, these curbs have to be done. The street has to be done." Say it again.
No, just speaking of that. I can let you finish.
I'm just saying there's got to be some kind. Either we can go to them and they can do it with us or something like that. But I mean, I know timing is of the essence because they're milling. They already paved from the train track down to from that area of Gordonhurst almost, or Brookfield, all the way down to Bloomfield Avenue. They've already started milling between the college and all the way down to I think that's into the center of town almost. I wanted them to hold that off because of September 11th. It's the sidewalk sales, it's the art in the park. It'd be horrible if that's dug out, but I think we've got to have something in place, 3 weeks or something like that, or 2 or 3 weeks for it.
I'd like to just jump in here because while I respect that, there's a project that's going on there, I'd prefer that we as a council establish a firm policy with regard to how we're going to approach curbing and different things, because there have been other paving projects that have been going on in other parts of the township where the county did not do things that we, or certainly I, felt was a complete project. And I don't think that it's a good idea for us just to jump in because one or even all 7 of us say, okay, there's some metal hanging out. I think there should be a policy, a firm policy established, and it should be looked at the same, because when they did Orange Road, they did, patchwork here, patchwork there, and there's still some potholes and things, and I brought that to the attention. And so rather than have each individual councilor or all 7 of us, go through and just find things, if there were a policy that we can have in place that states that, if there are projects that, are not completed or that we wish to, then we will do that, or either we won't or we'll do it at the, whatever. But I think it should be something that's universal for the entire township.
Can I understand that?
Yeah, Mark, did you were waiting to talk? So.
Yeah. One thing I understand, and I think you're absolutely right. The key here for this is really, particularly when it's county work, is to get in front of them early on when they're in their planning stages what Montclair wants in terms of improvements. And actually, I was talking to the township engineer, and she's been discussing with the traffic committee this complete streets kind of concept of getting someone together and really doing that overall kind of an inventory, figuring out what are the issues throughout the town, including our streets, our curbing, the county's curbing, and really coming up with a kind of complete street striping, everything that we've talked about previously, and have that in place so that when people are making decisions, prior to making decisions, they already seen what we want them to do.
So you're talking about moving things like the curbs along, on county roads would be part of the same thing with crosswalks and lighting and striping, and, prioritizing what's
It'd be
important for
prioritized, that's
pedestrians,
right.
what's important for all the users.
And that goes
Now,
right
you-
into, I'm sorry, my question, which was, when you spoke to the township engineer, was this curbing project near the top of her list of priorities for curbing? Because we're talking about a climate where capital funds are scarce and we're trying to tighten our belts, as it were, and spend less, so we have to pay less interest.
And some streets still don't have any curbs.
And the key is, it is a county road, and the way to get the county roads, particularly these types of improvements, is to make sure that they know what our priorities are when they're actually doing the planning. Quite frankly, this was a paving job, that's all it was. If we can get this information to them up front and let them know what's important, I think is the best way to handle this. But it will take some time, it's going to take some considerable effort to kind of create that complete list. But I'm going to talk again about doing that.
If they can't do it now, then I'm going to be ashamed, if we can't do it now, but we at least got to take that steel out, from the process.
I have a question.
It's a hazard and it's a danger when the steel's sticking out.
And whose responsibility
I
is
tell you
it?
what, why don't we just do this?
No,
Let's kind of
no.
switch with a modified version of Robert's. Why don't I recognize people,
Oh, sure.
because everyone's jumping in, and Carrie, you haven't said anything yet, and Rich, why don't you finish? And then
Whose
Carrie.
responsibility is the curbs?
Right.
County.
Right there would be, for replacement of the curbs, would be the county.
So why are we even having this discussion? It's the county's responsibility.
And-
Why haven't they done it?
That's why I'm saying what we need to do is identify those things that are priorities for us, for the county's work, and give them those priorities early, so when they're designing their improvements for a street, we're saying we want striping, we want
I understand, but if the
crosswalks.
county has responsibility for the curbs, they didn't get it last week, they've always had responsibility for the curbs. The curbs are atrocious, the curbs on Washington are in horrible crumbling condition, curbs throughout town on county roads are in horrible condition. So the question is, why did it come out now? Why isn't the county?
It really came about, the reason this came about is they're doing a paving job. When they're doing a paving job, you have people out there, and you're looking, and you really see that it stands out now that they're doing the paving. So that's what brought this to light. And like I said, the best way to deal with this is do this complete streets, you identify what those issues are, get in front of the county early on, so when they're making their decisions, they already know, this is what Montclair wants.
Okay,
And
but
we
if they
already
have-
have this problem, we had the same problem, if you remember, on Bloomfield Avenue, Elm, Orange, we're trying to catch up and say, let's get a resolution in front of them so they can get the work done. So we've already had this problem this year
Right, but if it's their
with trying to play catch-up, so having a
If it's their
policy.
responsibility to maintain the curbs, we shouldn't need to remind them of the responsibility. The responsibility is there.
Right, but the issue is a matter of priorities. Just like everywhere else, there's
Yeah.
limited funds, and they have a certain amount of funds they're going to spend, and projects they're going to do in Montclair. We need to make sure that their projects that they do here are projects that we want them to do in a priority that we want. How you do that is let them know what we want.
If we're not going to be able to get them to do the curbs, then let's at least get the steel taken out and sticking out, because that's a hazard. That's got to be done.
And again-
Put that on the record. I've warned us that we're going to have an issue with somebody either popping another tire or stepping into that steel, whether it's the county or us. It's, they're going to come after us, and we're going to go out to the county. I don't want to see somebody get hurt, so let's fix it.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we do this? Since we have this process,
Right.
this, Kim looking at this whole thing, maybe we could have her reach out to the county engineer and say, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna come up with this list. It'll take a long time. In the meanwhile, could you do some repair? We're not asking you to, do this.
We've done this all the
May I
time.
suggest furthermore that we could offer to do the repair in-house as a shared service?
What does
Because
that mean?
we're quite adept in our public works department with dealing with
They
these.
take the steel out every day.
Yeah,
They're out
yeah,
there
they're
cutting
very,
steel.
very much,
I'd have to talk to them.
It's- Why don't we see if the county can do it? I mean, it's their curbs. Why offer to do something if they are obligated to do it?
Exchange for
yeah,
something
exactly.
else.
It might be a time when they're overextended and perhaps if we could.
All right, well, we'll do what we can. I think we're okay with that. Okay. Design consultant, South Park Street improvements.
Actually, I'm going to ask, let me just give you an update of where we are in terms of South Park Street. The first component of South Park Street is getting in a consultant